Okay, thank all of you for being here this evening. We really appreciate it, and lots of goodies were up here a few minutes ago. I left some of mine up here. I like this sunshine balloon a great deal. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Gutierrez for his Superintendent's Report.
Good evening, board members and Seguin ISD community. Great things continue to happen in Seguin ISD, and I'd like to share a few examples as well as some upcoming event information. We hosted a school boundary rezoning committee meeting on January the 13th as part of a process to engage our community in the evaluation of our attendance boundaries. The next meeting is scheduled for February the 3rd. Principals Jay Law and Irma Freeman hosted a community open house on January the 6th to showcase the facility improvements made at our Sager campus to accommodate our MBLC, DAEP, and transition programs. It was great to see so many former students, educators, and family members of former Sager at the Sager event. Friday night, many of our talented students performed at the Martin Luther King Jr. Fine Arts Showcase in the Performing Arts Center. The event featured performances by Breezy Meister Choir and Theater, Patlan Golden Matadors Choir, Jefferson Drum Company, Weiner Mighty Matador Singers, Rodriguez Choir, Vogel Orphantastics, McQueenie Lakeside Singers, Kinnicky Chorus, and Barnes Choir and Theater. A special thanks goes to the Seguin MLK Planning Committee for including the Fine Arts Fair as an official Seguin MLK event. Over the weekend, the Seguin High School cheerleading squad competed at the state UIO contest in Fort Worth. I am proud to report that the girls took 4th place out of 64 squads at the end of the competition. Thanks to all who came out to the cheer send-off on Friday morning at Seguin High School to wish our cheerleaders well. In Mariachi news, the Barnes Varsity Mariachi Toreador received all #1 ratings from the judges at the Texas Association of Mariachi Educators, or TAME, area competition. The Breezy Meister Varsity Mariachi Toros earned a 2nd division rating. At the same event, the Seguin High School Matador Mariachi advanced to all-state competition, while the junior varsity received a 2nd division, even though it was their very first time to compete. Great job, Seguin ISD Mariachi. For the 2nd straight year, Seguin ISD is partnering with the Texas State University and NASA to offer science, technology, engineering, and math on Saturdays for 4th through 8th grade students. STEM Saturdays began last Saturday at Barnes Middle School, and we had about 84 of our students in attendance. This weekend, the Seguin High School Theater Arts students will perform the Disney sensation Beauty and the Beast in the Performing Arts Center. Showtimes are 7 p.m. Friday and Saturday and 3 p.m. on Sunday. I encourage you to see these talented students perform in our beautiful venue. Our Matador Special Services Department is again partnering with the San Antonio Food Bank on Friday, January 31st for a food distribution event here at the admin offices. Students in the Matador Transition Program will distribute the food at approximately 10:30 a.m. on a first-come, first-served basis. And quickly, a couple of other items. The annual JROTC inspection is tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. in the Student Activity Center. The varsity tennis season kicks off on Thursday. The Matador swim team will compete in the District UIL swim meet on Thursday at Blossom Athletic Center in San Antonio. Matador Robotics is hosting the VEX tournament at Seguin High School on Saturday. And good luck to our powerlifting students competing this Saturday in the Navarro Invitational Meet. Thank you all for your continued support of Seguin ISD.
Thank you, Dr. Gutierrez. Moving on to board member reports, I can let you know I've been to a couple of basketball games, both boys and girls, so go Mats, they're looking great. And I also attended a Seguin Education Foundation meeting and did want to announce that the foundation will be holding its fundraiser on February 25th, which is Fat Tuesday. So it is a Fat Tuesday celebration, and this is going to take the place, at least this year, for the annual Denim and Diamonds. Ms. Duncan?
Yes, I went to a couple of things. The first was the send-off for the cheerleaders for for their UIL meet where they placed 4th in state. So excited for them. And then same day, last Thursday the 16th, I was able to witness the construction technology program at the high school. They did put some finishing touches on a project that they worked with the Kaler company on, and they built a desk for the nursing program at the high school. So such a great cooperation between the CTA programs and the Kaler company, and I just wanted to publicly thank them for participating in that way.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
Mrs. Crittenden?
So far this month, I attended the Barnes and Breezy One Act Play public demonstration of their One Act play. They did a wonderful job, and attended the MLK Fine Art Showcase. And this weekend, I can't wait for Beauty and the Beast and Barnes and Breezy Meister's UIL competition.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Amador?
I attended the Kinnicky campus check-in, the Seguin open house, several meetings, and the stadium committee meeting, and I'm glad to say it's on time.
That's good news. All right, Mr. Jenkins?
Well, I've been following closely on Facebook and the Seguin ISD website, everything that's been going on, but I've been working extra. Flu season among us, so everybody wash your hands and keep your cough covered and stay healthy.
I don't think he's kidding. Yeah. Ms. Moreno?
I've enrolled in an online course through TASB, so that will be a 6 weeks course. I attended the Lunch and Learn series that one of the Lunch and Learn meetings that Dr. Gutierrez has hosted. I too have attended basketball games. They just happen to be at Barnes and not at the high school. And attended the Fine Arts fanfare that was on Dr. Martin Luther King, and our students they were shining all the way around. It was a beautiful, beautiful performance. And then attended the Martin Luther King banquet Saturday evening.
Thank you. Mr. Guerra?
I attended the Sacred Open House, the SISD MLK Fine Arts Showcase, and also the MLK banquet on Saturday.
Thank you very much. Moving on to audience with the board, we designated time for audience participation at the beginning of each meeting in accordance with board policy BED local. So those wishing to speak shall sign up before the meeting, stating the concern. Audience participation is limited to 5 minutes. An audience of more than 5 persons shall appoint a representative, and the board shall not deliberate on any subject that is not on the agenda. And this evening we have Mr. Donnie Biker and Miss Sheila Ulrich. Did I read that correctly? Yes. Okay. And they're going to visit with us about a donation to the athletic department.
Hi, Dr. Gutierrez, Presidentes, and school board members. I'm Donnie Biker, and with me is Sheila Ulrich. Can you hear me? Is this working? Okay, it's hard for me to tell. All right, I just wanted, Donnie Biker, one of the co-presidents of Seguin Sport Booster Club. My wife usually handles this, but she's doing the clock at basketball games, so she sent me in her place. I want to thank you for the support that we've gotten from the school board so that we're able to give a check for $15,500 to the athletic department. And this money is typically used by the athletic department to cover gaps in areas where the budget money runs out. So it helps them quite a bit. One of the ways that we make money is by selling concessions. We run the concession stands at Goldie, Sac Gym, softball field, Matador baseball field, and at Matador Stadium. The most demanding concession stands that we run is the one at Matador Stadium, which is not there right now, but it's on its way. Okay, on any given night, we're expected to serve up to like 10,000 people could be there in a 4-hour period, which is quite demanding. So in order for that to happen, I've been working with Dr. Gutierrez, Bill Lewis, James Pisano, Florin Papa, and F.A. Nunley to make sure that this happens. We were working on the design and the building phases of the concession stands because we're going to have 2 new concession stands one on the home side and one on the visitor sides, with the facilities that we can serve like 10,000 people in 4 hours, which is a really great thing to have. We're also going to have in this new complex a new spirit booth, which we can sell clothing, articles, Yeti cups, which we've brought one that each one of you can have as a sample or donation from us to you for your support. And the other thing we ask you to do is come by a game on Friday night, enjoy a pork loin chop that we've been doing for the last few years, which are really great. And then remember that every day is a great day to be a Matador. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for that donation. Moving on our agenda to item 4, which are our reports and information items. We're going to start off with a campus instructional initiatives presentation. We'll have, is that correct? Did I miss something?
Item 2.
Oh, I skipped item 2. You didn't tell me. Sorry about that. We will hold off on that information item, Mr. Schmidt. Okay, go back to item 2, our campus recognition. We moved forward with Mr. Biker, so y'all got ahead of the game here. All right, and we're going to start off with our campus recognition, which actually is my home campus, which is McQueenie. And so it is my pleasure, sorry y'all, to introduce tonight's featured campus, McQueenie Elementary. Meredith Statler serves as the principal at McQueenie, and tonight we're going to learn about the Pioneer Club at the campus, and it's pretty exciting to hear about. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Gutierrez, and the board. Thank you so much for having us here tonight. Our mission at McQueenie is we succeed, no exceptions, no excuses. And we know that in order for that to happen, it takes a village. In order for our students to benefit from that village, they have to connect to the village. So one of the ways that we do that is through our Pioneer Club. And Ms. Jen Baker is the sponsor of the club, and she is extremely passionate about connecting students to their community, which is why we chose her to highlight. She's also very passionate about her 5 to 8 minutes, so I'm going to step down and let her get started. And she brought a few of our McQueenie kiddos to talk about their experiences.
Yes, you can't skip us because we're the party. We bring the party with us. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, Dr. Gutierrez, present community members, good evening. My name is Jennifer Baker, and I'm the attendance clerk at McQueenie Elementary and leader of the awesome Pioneer Club. Our mission statement is straightforward: building strong foundations with adventurous minds. I started the club in spring 2018 with the intention to help kids understand how having a strong foundation and using your natural curiosity could benefit their whole child self. The slideshow playing goes more into detail about our adventures and goals that I planned out for the year. There is a philosophy that goes along with being a pioneer, and it's using critical thinking, not giving up, being respectful of all things great and small, and always knowing that there's always more to learn. One of the most important teachings of the Pioneer Club is understanding the importance of community. A lesson that I teach throughout the year is you reap what you sow. This is normally associated with growing a garden or even a church sermon. I teach the kids that this simple phrase is also meant to be applied to relationships. You get what you give. It is important to our community to be involved in our schools. Sowing these seeds today will ensure this community's future. For example, this past summer I set out in our community asking for donations and even professional advice for cleaning up the front gardens in our school. The plan included a bug habitat, butterfly garden, and herb garden. I stopped by Green Gate and spoke with Mr. Ken, who jumped on the chance to help. In fact, he donated plants, soil, mulch, and most valuable thing that came from this was a relationship with a community member. Russell Baker of Raptor PM donated plants in his time and continues to be a professional call-out for the club when we find interesting bugs or we just have a question. On February 24th, we will be welcoming Texas Farm Bureau to do a lesson on Texas ag. I have also started a relationship with Texas Parks and Wildlife and currently working on a campus visit to teach each club about conservation, particularly about quail conservation and decline in Texas. And we also have a chicken coop. We do have quail there, in case you didn't know that. I have a former teacher and community members that have given private sewing lessons to kiddos. When she heard I had a little boy who wanted a sewing machine for Christmas, she got him one. Having our community active in our school helps sow these seeds and just may retain local talent here in Seguin. In 15 years, maybe one child will want to grow up and own a nursery like Green Gate. They will remember that time that Mr. Ken helped the school. Maybe that one child will open a nursery here and, of course, even open more jobs. And then they will also be active in our school. I posted on Facebook the need of child-friendly sewing machines. Within 2 days, machines were being delivered. This is very emotional. Machines were being delivered to the school. In fact, we have too many machines now. I challenge you to get involved in our school. Help sow these precious seeds. Help these kiddos understand that we as a community love them and we support them. My goal is to have this club in every elementary school in Seguin ISD, and we'll do it. In closing, before I introduce the kids, I want to thank my McQueenie family for the outrageous support that we have for this club, not just for me, but for these kids. Teachers have given time. Teachers have went out and got donations for us. Most of all, I'd like to thank Ms. Stadler. For every time I walk into her office with a crazy idea, she's usually very frightful before I even open my mouth. She goes along with it. If it's a live animal, I just have to let her know, she said. She goes along with it. She's so supportive of us, and I really appreciate her. So I'd like to introduce Julia. Julia is a longtime member of Pioneer Club, and she loves the club, and she would like to tell you why she loves the club so much. And also, she is holding Leon, who is our mascot. Why do you love Pioneer?
I love Pioneer Club. I love Pioneer Club because now I learn how to sew stuff.
You sew stuff? And this is Colin. He's also in our Pioneer Club. And would you like to tell the board why you love? Oh, he's got it ready. Go ahead.
I love Pioneer Club because we learn new things that we use in the real world.
I'll take that. We also brought a gift for each of you. These are backpacks that all the kids have. Every day when we have a meeting, there's field packs, there's sewing kits, there's all kinds of goodies in here. This is their toolkit. This is your toolkit to get involved. So if you come visit us, you have to bring your backpack. Thank you so much.
And I'm glad to hear y'all are learning about bugs.
Oh, yeah, they bring me lots of bugs.
And I have a book I'd like to donate to the campuses called Texas Bugs, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And it's a great book. So you know which bugs are really supposed to be there.
Yes.
So I will donate that to y'all. And I know Mrs. Moreno is very happy about the sewing machine she taught home ec way back in the day. Yeah, so this is really, okay, a few years ago.
We are actually working on a quilt that I'm finishing up right now. All kids have a square, and we have come to center in our community, which is
Well, I really do hope that this does spread to some of the other campuses.
Thank you for everything you do to give our students at McQueenie this type of experience. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, Denise Crittenden wants to be a member of the Pioneer Club, so.
Well, you have a shirt in your bag, so you saw it.
Okay. All right. Moving on to item 2B, which is Student Staff Board Community Recognition as well. We're going to turn it over to Dr. Gutierrez for the Superintendent's Award.
Tonight it is a special privilege to recognize an individual who has made a tremendous impact on Seguin High School students. This month's honoree has worked as a paraprofessional, also known as a teaching assistant, in special education programs for Seguin ISD since 2016. She has worked in resource and essential academics, or life skills, classes at Barnes Middle School, and as a job coach for the Seguin Works Transition Program. Currently, she is in the Essential Academics class at Seguin High School, where she serves as a one-on-one assistant for students with autism and other developmental disabilities. She is truly dedicated to her students and always goes above and beyond to ensure that her students get what they need. She helps plan specialized lessons and reward programs for students to ensure that they are learning in the classroom. Each day she comes to work with a smile on her face and influences her students and other staff members with her positive attitude and focus on student success. Her students need educators who are loving, kind, and caring. Fortunately, tonight's honoree is all of these, plus so much more. So, excuse me, got all these pages everywhere. So please join me in recognizing this month's recipient of the Superintendent Award, Special Education Paraprofessional, Tiffany Johnson Estrada.
Okay, I'm just discombobulated today. You know, those two things that we just saw are actually our favorite parts of the meeting every week. So thank you all for all the work that you've done at the campus. I think that she left already, but really at McQueenie, we really do appreciate this really fun and innovative club.
We truly do have special people in Seguin ISD, and these are the things that don't show up on a taper report, and this is what makes a difference every single day, is the passion and the dedication that so many individuals pour into their work. So thank you all so much.
Yes. All right, and so the last item under this section is School Board Recognition Month. And we had so many wonderful things up here earlier, but we couldn't see you all because there were so many things. So we moved them off the shelf, and I think Dr. Gutierrez wants to have a few words.
And the great thing is I also get to partake in these awesome gifts. Thank y'all. And really thanks to the campuses that really put thought into recognizing our Board of Trustees. They make really big and critical decisions that make a difference in the district. As you all know, January is School Board Appreciation Month, and I want to take an opportunity to personally thank our trustees, Cindy Thomas Jimenez, Carl Jenkins, Ben Amador, Alejandro Guerra, Linda Duncan, Denise Crittenden, and Glenda Moreno for their leadership and service. As trustees, these individuals dedicate countless hours in meetings, workshops, trainings, extracurricular, campus, and community events while serving as advocates for the students and staff of Seguin ISD. The theme for this year's School Board Recognition Month is Launching the Next Generation, and based upon your support of our students, you are indeed creating opportunities to launch our children to succeed as students and citizens. So on behalf of Seguin ISD, please know that we appreciate all you do for our students. Thank y'all. So at this time, please enjoy this beautiful performance by the award-winning Mariachi Matador.
School board appreciation, and we most certainly appreciate our school board. This one's for you guys. Thank you. Quit. First, 3 and 4.
Un, dos, tres,
Thank you all very much.
Thank you all.
All right, now we're going to move on to the reports. So, Mr. Schmidt, I think you're going to be up to talk to us about campus instructional initiatives. Reaching 2 campuses.
It's very tough to follow that performance, and I'm not even really equipped, but I'm excited about what we have to offer here. Board President Thomas Jimenez, Dr. Gutierrez, esteemed board members, I'm very excited to have the opportunity to bring up a couple of elementary campuses to take part in campus initiatives. We started this back in October, and this is an opportunity for our principals to come up and really show off a little bit of an instructional initiative that they're doing at their campus. We've asked them to focus on either their PLC work, their work with working through a guaranteed and viable curriculum, or else rigor and relevance. And today we are going to be joined by Meredith Stadler and I think maybe Jason Cunningham from McQueenie. And following that, we'll have Vogel and Miss Laura Flack. So I'm going to turn it over right now to McQueenie. Come on up.
All right, good evening. We are back. I'm back with more of my team. I'd like to introduce everybody. This is Jason Cunningham, my assistant principal. Laura Revis, 5th grade math teacher. And Haley Holder is our 5th grade ELAR teacher. So at McQueenie, we've been participating in the CIR process that goes with rigor and relevance through ICLE. It's a coaching process. So we go through the entire coaching process with 4 teachers, but we're spreading it out to the entire campus. And one of the things they say through ICLE is that when you are in a room, there are 3 questions that should be answered so that everybody can learn, and they are, where are we? Who are all these people, and what are we going to do today? So we know who the people are here in the room, and obviously we're in the boardroom, but I'm going to discuss where we are in the CIR process. So we've been coaching our 4 teachers. I brought 2 of them with us today. And in that process, we have a pre-conference, and we discuss what is your lesson going to be like, where do you think it's going to fall on the rubric. On the rigor rubric is the one that we've been working with. And now into relevance, and almost finished with that one, but we're going to really focus on rigor tonight. And then we go and observe the lesson. And in the lesson, we just take notes and jot down, and then Mr. Cunningham and I discuss how we think the teacher did, but then the teacher comes in for a conference at the end and tells us how they think they did. So it's really a non-evaluative coaching process, and I've been very surprised at how reflective the deep thought that the teachers give us, because they really go back to the rubric and they really think what is working for kids, which is the power in the process. So a great quote that I love: if we teach today's students as we taught yesterday's, we rob them of tomorrow, which is why this is such an important process and why we have brought it into the PLC process, which is going to be the part that everybody else is going to talk about tonight.
Good evening. So as Ms. Sauer mentioned, we're going to be discussing the rigor rubric. That is the rubric that we've rolled out now to all of our teachers in the training, and we've been asking them to really lean on that rubric when they're planning their lessons. As you can see, the rubric can be a little bit daunting when you first look at it. I know just coming out of the classroom last year, I looked at it and thought, oh my gosh. But the way we explained it to the teachers and what I've learned is that there are 3 paths to the rigor. So you're not looking at everything. When they come in for their pre-conference, we say, which of these things are you wanting to focus on? Where do you feel like we need to go? So you can go with thoughtful work, high-level questioning, or academic discussion. But what we have found through the process is that in reality, if one of these moves, the others will move as well. So the teacher is focusing on one, but if they focus on academic discussion, by nature, the high-level questioning will come as well as thoughtful work. So it kind of takes care of itself organically in that way. Right. So as I mentioned, there are the 3 pathways: high-level questioning, academic discussion, and thoughtful work. And so now I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Holder and Ms. Revis, and let them tell you from their perspective what this has done for their lesson planning.
All right. So initially, when I saw the rubric, I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, because it's always something different. But this one wasn't so bad, honestly. I mean, this one really, it's like little tweaks, and that's what I told all my colleagues. I'm like, it's just little tweaks you're doing to kind of bump it up. And with thoughtful work, you've got 4 levels you could go through: beginner, emerging, developed, and well-developed. And with math, it's kind of easy because you kind of, with thoughtful work, I always say you kind of start at that beginning, because you have to give them a task that they're kind of recalling. I mean, you're teaching them a computation. And then as you progress through the lesson that you're giving, then you can go to the next level, the next level, the next level. But it doesn't really matter if you are not, like, you don't have to get your rigor through thoughtful work. So even if you're at beginner or emerging, you can get the rigor through either questioning or classroom discussions.
It's helpful going back to thoughtful work. It's helpful in the lesson planning process, especially for me as a first-year teacher, because I'm able to hand over more responsibility to students than I probably would have, not looking at the rubric. Giving a bunch of 11-year-olds responsibility is terrifying, and it could come back to bite you. But looking at the rubric, they are taking ownership for their own learning, which pushes that responsibility onto them, which keeps them more engaged because they're making the decisions. And like Ms. Revis said, it really, once you move in one area, you really move across the board. So when you move into high-level questioning, it's very easy in the classroom to fall back on the same 4 questions you have in your pocket for every lesson. But when focusing on high-level questioning in the lesson planning process, our students really need the academic language, and so by planning sentence stems into how we teach and into the lesson plans, they're able to practice that academic language that they're going to need throughout their career.
And with academic discussion, that's something, honestly, with our students, we kind of had to teach them to do, because they really, a lot of them did not know how to even disagree. They didn't think you could disagree with someone. Right. They thought it had to be this knockdown, drag out fight, but really there's a respectful way to disagree with someone. Even something as simple as just asking, well, I didn't do it that way, but tell me why you did it that way, or I wasn't thinking that, tell me why you were thinking that. So with academic discussion in the classroom, and this is kind of used to, the teacher would do the talking and ask the questions to a specific student, and we really, that's just not how we do things anymore. And that's the beginning. The emerging is prompting the students and getting a few responses, and then it's the teacher breaking them into groups and going around and questioning the groups. And then finally, you really want the students asking each other the questions because they're putting it into their own words, and it's making more sense to them if they're putting it into their own words.
Yeah, as you move up the rubric, more students are being held accountable for answering. So rather than just calling on the 4 kids who know the answers all the time, you're having each student answer in a way that shows that they have mastery, because we don't all learn or answer the same.
So when we put this all together, when you have thoughtful work, high-level questioning, and academic discussion are all very high level, and students have ownership of that, and they hit the nail on the head. We don't do the one student call out anymore. Every student is accountable for their own learning, but in a way that's very positive and very productive for them, because they know what they're learning and they know how to learn it really well, which really empowers them. And now we're putting it into all of our lesson plans, so it's written very specifically. We've taken a challenge to use different lean forward strategies and to try new things, to really take a risk with our students so that they really are empowered. And what the result of that is that it gives us really powerful students, exceptional students to exceptional citizens, because we need our citizens to think critically, and this is the way that we are meeting that challenge at McQueen. And thank you for your time.
At this point, we're going to bring up Ms. Laura Flack from Vogel to enlighten us on the practices that are occurring at Vogel. Ms. Flack.
Good evening, School Board and Dr. Gutierrez. I'm excited to share with you as well the rigor and relevance work that we have been doing at Vogel. Thank you, Ms. Statler. You went into some detail. I'm going to talk a little bit more globally about what it looks like at Vogel, where we've gone and where we're going. So one of the things that we really want to hit is the rigor and relevance work is not easy for a teacher. And our students deserve this level of instruction, but how do we support teachers in getting there? How do we make meaning in their daily lessons and the have-to-knows? So that was the task that we really took on as administrators, was to really look at this process and break it down for our teachers and make it enjoyable, make it something that they really value. So I want to talk about a little bit about like where we came from. So you all have gifted our teachers with this. I know Dr. Gutierrez brought this, and it has been a godsend to us. But we started with a training for everyone. Everybody got the global picture of what was going on. At Vogel, we chose to start working directly with our lead teachers. We felt that they would make the biggest impact because with the administrators working directly with our lead teachers, it could also help bring them closer with their teams as they bring what they learn to their teams. We did our own CIR visits where we were able to get feedback from other campuses about the places that we were at, and we did receive very positive feedback from there, but it gave us a good chance to talk to Denise White, who is our ICLE trainer. And at that point, we were able to tell her our direct needs at that point. And one of our needs was that our teachers really wanted this. They wanted to teach at that high level, but they were struggling with the how. One of the teachers that I worked with would stay up till midnight writing these lessons to do this for her students, and she wanted it so bad, but she didn't know how to make this process more streamlined and how to think as she was planning. And Denise White gave us that at a training. And so some of the things that we did at that training was dive deeper into those rubrics, and she offered us through training strategies that make our kids do the work. Our kids have to do the thinking. So here's a child doing his thinking right there. I caught them actually in the middle of doing some discussions. And then we also do the administrative coaching sessions and things like that. So how it goes back to how are we supporting our teachers in this process? So we did the training, and we are coaching our teachers in that in the cycle. We start with a pre-conference about what they're going to teach, and then we move on to watching them teach. And then we come back, and it's all about how the teacher wanted to grow and how they really reflected in using that rubric. We also have our teachers input the various strategies from that training into their lesson plans. So coming from our teachers, we have heard nothing but positive about this approach to teaching. One of the teachers that I work directly with, had her biggest aha moment at our first coaching session was, "Oh, you want to know what the kids are doing, not what I'm doing." And I said, yes. And so it really has helped move our campus forward in that sense. If you were to come to Vogel right now, you would see our kids engrossed in peer conversations, things like some of the strategies that we learned were think, write, share, hand up, pair up. You would hear our teachers having conversations. But how can we change this worksheet into something that our kids can talk about? So we've really moved from what are our teacher actions to what are our students doing in the classroom. Do you have any questions? All right, have a wonderful night. Thank you so much.
Next up is our strategic priority and initiative report for the guaranteed and viable curriculum. Mr. Cantu was going to give this presentation, but he is ill. So Mr. Schmidt is subbing in.
Good evening. At this time, I'm also going to ask Ms. Laura Cooper to come up and join me. She's going to be co-presenting with me on this. Wanted to spend a little bit of time just covering the basics. We met with the XG team of 8 over the past year and really did some work over multiple sessions, coming up with some board goals that really were data-based and instructional based and really fit with what it was that we wanted to be doing here in Seguin ISD. So today we are going to be covering the part with a guaranteed and viable curriculum. Just taking a look here at the slides, you can see what our priorities are. Are in what we consider year 2 of 3 with our strategic priorities. And the strategic initiatives that we develop as through the XG process include goal 1, which you can see there, K through 3, literacy proficiency, implementing PLCs district-wide, rigor and relevance, and utilizing that framework, which you saw a couple of examples today from 2 of our elementary campuses, and developing a guaranteed and viable curriculum. I'm going to show you the timeline for reporting out on that progress, and then I'm going to be turning it over shortly to Ms. Cooper, who has done a lot of work in that capacity. But as you can see here, based on the calendar that we have, as far as being able to report out, we are now in January, which shows us that we need to be talking about guaranteed and viable curriculum. Next month, we'll be updating you all on the literacy proficiency initiatives. In April, we'll have a couple of items, which will be PLCs and that process, as well as the rigor and relevance process. I want to be able to quantify some of that activity. In May, we'll get back with the K-3 literacy, and then in June, to round things out, we'll talk about curriculum and once again, literacy, hoping that we have achieved our goals by that point. As I alluded to earlier, I'm going to turn it over now to Ms. Cooper to talk a little bit about the meaning of guaranteed and viable curriculum.
Good evening, President Thomas Jimenez, Superintendent Gutierrez, and members of the board. It's my honor to be here this evening to talk about the work that we've done around providing a guaranteed and viable curriculum for all students in Seguin ISD. First, I would like to talk about our work around developing a curriculum management plan. So curriculum management is one of the primary tasks that our team works on in Learning and Leadership Services. And our goal is to work around creating processes that help to minimize variation across campuses and across classrooms by ensuring that teachers have clarity and specificity regarding the curriculum, instruction, and assessment. Specifically in knowing what students need to know and do, knowing how to teach the curriculum based on best practices, and determining if students are mastering the curriculum. A district curriculum management plan is a comprehensive document that outlines and establishes the guidelines and procedures for how a district will ensure this clarity and specificity for all students in the district. When a district has in place an effective curriculum management plan, the outcome is a guaranteed and viable curriculum. Robert DeFore and Robert Mazzano are leading educational researchers and have developed a great deal of work that our district subscribes to, including the solution tree and PLC process that our district has utilized. I love this quote that they wrote about what a guaranteed and viable curriculum is. And it delineates two distinct components around a curriculum, and that is the components that ensure that what students are learning is guaranteed. And the guaranteed component is that specific content is taught in specific courses and at specific grade levels, regardless of the school that the student attends and regardless of the teacher to whom the student is assigned. And the viability component is that there is enough instructional time available to learn the information and to master the items that have been delineated. It's also that teachers have the actual time necessary to teach to the depth necessary for student mastery. These are the two components that do determine whether a curriculum is guaranteed and viable. So I want to highlight for you some of the components that we have put in place here in Seguin that address specifically the elements of a guaranteed and a viable curriculum. So in the area of ensuring that our curriculum is guaranteed for our students, I want to highlight two specific components that we've put in place. The first is that our district utilizes the TEACS resource management system as well as some locally developed curriculum documents in the English language arts and SALAR areas that delineate the specific content, the pacing, and the sequencing for each course of study. This is also a key component that is utilized in our PLC purposeful planning process. And in PLCs, teachers utilize these documents to collaboratively plan lessons together. The second component that ensures that we are providing a guaranteed curriculum to all students is that the district does utilize a common assessment process where teachers are providing common unit assessments and interim assessments, and they're working in a collaborative team in PLC to analyze these assessments to identify trends in student data and ways that they need to improve student performance. Currently, we are implementing the use of daily formative assessments through exit tickets at our secondary campuses, and our elementary campuses are using a variety of daily formative assessments. We are using common unit assessments in all of our core foundational subject areas, and are using interim assessments at the high school level and in some areas at our middle school level. We do also utilize common district assessments both in the fall and the spring. The two areas I'd like to discuss this evening in regards to viability are: the first one is the development of collaborative standards that were identified that are important important for all students to deeply know and understand. These standards were identified through a collaborative process starting in the spring of last year and continued through the summer, and launched at all of the campuses in the August PD of this school year. And they are referred to as the Power Essential Standards, and these are the essential standards that teachers identified as what needed to account for the deepest content that students are learning in the core curricula. These are the standards that that comprise the majority of the STAR assessments. They also were identified as standards that go beyond just that current course and have enduring importance in years to come. So these would be essential standards that are connected to enduring understandings. These are used to comprise most of the assessments that are given to students. So when teachers are analyzing data, they're analyzing data deeply around the essential standards, which make up about 1/3 of the overall curriculum that teachers have made a commitment to ensure that students have a deep mastery around these standards. The second viability component that we have been working on this school year is the implementation of a data analysis process that leads to targeted student interventions. This is where students are going to be able to receive interventions in a manner that has been determined based on their level of performance that matches with an appropriate level of intervention. And it's a tiering system that was developed to provide Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 interventions to our students. And we did provide professional development to our leadership teams and to our teacher teams through professional learning communities to help support our intervention initiative, which is rolled out in December and is going to be in full force all through the spring as we get ready for improving our student performance on our STAR and end of course exams. Finally, I would like to conclude this presentation by outlining 3 major next steps in the area of a guaranteed and viable curriculum. The first is going to be the final completion of the District Curriculum Management Plan, which is currently in draft form and has the foundation curriculum components. But as a division of Learning and Leadership Services, our goal is to create a comprehensive integrated document to present to the board that also integrates the curriculum management components for CTE, fine arts, physical education, multilingual education, gifted and talented education, and special education programming. Our second item that is one of our next steps is to create a comprehensive assessment guidebook that will be inclusive of a detailed assessment calendar that will guide us each year, analysis protocols for use by teacher teams and campus teams, assessment blueprints for all interim assessments, and other resources around assessment and assessment analysis for our campus leaders and teachers. And our third next step is to develop a comprehensive warehouse of professional learning, lessons, manipulatives, and resources for teachers. And this is an extension of some work that began last year around the instructional playbook. We want to expand the instructional playbook so that it really is a warehouse of resources for our teachers and our campuses. Thank you all very much, and just before I leave, just wanted to ask if you have any questions about our work on a guaranteed and viable curriculum.
I do. Bill, can we go back to the chart that has the guaranteed and the viable right there? So as I look at the viable, and it talks about the standards in each grade level to identify high leverage student expectations. Are they planning for these during their team time, during their department time?
They plan with them during their professional learning time. Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
And so then these are identified in their lesson plans also?
I'm not sure if they're identified in their lesson plans, but there are documents where each campus has their identified essential standards and power standards in their PLC planning documents.
Okay.
Are those essential standards identified early in the year or about mid-year?
They were identified in August.
in August.
And are they on the computers? Are they?
Most campuses have them in as a Google Doc in their Google folders.
And so there was teacher input in picking out those essentials.
Yes, it was completely teacher driven, 100%.
Completely teacher driven, okay. And then over there in the first column, under guaranteed, you have district curriculum documents. I don't really know what that means.
There were additional documents created beyond what was available in TEAC's resource for ELAR and SLAR.
Okay.
There were not documents in TEAC's resource at the beginning of the school year due to the change in the TEACs. And with the curriculum that we purchased here, Springboard and the HMH for elementary, both our ELAR coordinator and our elementary director created those guides for our teachers.
I was just curious if it was something that had been sitting on a shelf for a while and we pulled it out. Okay, that's very good news. All right. Any other questions?
I just have something to share. So the question may be, okay, so we talked about teachers and what teachers are doing and what conversations they're having in PLCs and what curriculum they have access to. So what is the responsibility of the administration? How does the campus leadership and central leadership ensure that every single kid who walks into our doors has access to the guaranteed and viable curriculum? Because it should be consistent across the district, whether you're at Rodriguez or Patlan, whether you're in classroom A at Patlan, second grade, or classroom B at Patlan in second grade. That's up to the administrators sitting in PLCs, and that's why I feel strongly about leadership being present to really have a grasp as to what teachers are planning, but most importantly, that administrators are walking into classrooms and monitoring instruction. Many times when you see that students are not achieving, you will find that the leadership is not in the classrooms monitoring the instruction. And so we feel very strongly about our administrators completing a minimum of 20 walkthroughs a week, which is reasonable. And it's important. We have an obligation as leaders to ensure that our students have access. And unfortunately, in some cases, they don't. And that's the fault of leadership not monitoring. Whether it's campus or here, it is our responsibility to ensure that we're monitoring, because what doesn't get monitored doesn't get done.
And so their 20 walkthroughs that they're doing are being turned into the leadership?
Yes, so I just also want to share that part of the curriculum management plan will also include quality control measures, which are leadership measures to help ensure that we are monitoring and ensuring that we do have a guaranteed and viable curriculum in every classroom. Part of that process starts with being visible in classrooms and leaders being present so that they can see instruction and be able to give quality feedback to teachers. And so our administrators are submitting their walkthrough data to my office at this time, and we're utilizing that feedback actually for a protocol that we'll be doing in Learning for Leaders tomorrow, where they're going to be able to look at feedback from all across the district and really be able to calibrate around what is high quality feedback and what is feedback that our teachers would value and appreciate, and ultimately what would result in improvement in student performance.
And one of the things we found is what we've taken things to the next level is we have conversations with leadership, and what we've got to really be better at is asking for evidence. You are saying that you have gone into this many classrooms and these are the trends you're seeing. Well, we need to see evidence, because we learned a hard lesson last year when we didn't have hard evidence and students weren't learning and campuses failed. So we're really focusing on ensuring that we have evidence with all aspects of everything we're doing, the curriculum, rigor relevance, PLCs, and with our reading initiative for third grade.
So how long is the turnaround if I have my principal or assistant principal come do a walkthrough through my classroom? How long will it take it for them to get that document to me so I can see where I have needs and where I am doing well.
So right now, most of the turnaround has been either same day with no longer than 3 days, but I do hope that we will be able to provide teacher feedback at least by the next day. That's our goal to get to, because teachers do want to have feedback right away. They don't want to wait 3 days. They may forget what's being referenced in the email or in the feedback form, and so giving it immediately is more beneficial to the teacher.
So the feedback is electronic or is it one-on-one?
The campuses were able to select how they were going to provide the feedback, and it's always preferable to do feedback face-to-face, but sometimes they do it through an email, especially if it's a praise feedback, then it could certainly be appropriate to be through an email or electronically. So I do just want to say I really, it's an honor to be able to speak to the board on Board Appreciation Day, and I do look forward to being able to share our progress on our next steps when we share out about guaranteed and viable curriculum in June. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren.
All right, moving on to item C, we're going to have a bond 2019 project update. Mr. Lewis, what you got for us?
President Jimenez, Dr. Gutierrez, and board, thank you for letting me speak today and give you a little bit of a bond update. Our last board meeting was not too long ago, so some of the things are not ton of progress on a couple of them, but we do have some things to share. With our stadium construction, we've got the underground utilities near completion. On the visitor side, the ticket booth foundation has actually gone in. You'll see the blocks, the walls start going up pretty soon on ticket blocks. Things going to start going vertical here pretty soon, and when it starts going vertical, it's going to go pretty quick. The track and field, the concrete curve has been the border's been put up. They're about to pour that. We're continuing to look at the materials and things, and the piers for the bleachers have all been completed. There's just a few pictures. You can see the slab there, and you can see that's a light pole, I believe, pier on the far right that's going in for the new poles that are going to go in. So these are some of the pictures that will show up that are in our bi-weekly reports that we do post on our website. Some of the outlooks for the next 2 to 3 weeks, you'll see the masonry work that's going to go up for the ticket booths, continuing plumbing rough-ins on the visitors. There's a lot of toilets, and that's a lot of plumbing that are going to go through there. Also working on field drainage. Going to start the screen wall. That's the masonry wall is going to go along Cedar. You'll see start coming up here pretty soon. Start drilling for that. Electrical's still going through, and then they're finishing the grandstand piers on the home site right now. They're there. You can see it. So you can go pick out your pole where you're going to sit over your pole in the fall. So we are on track, still to be completed on our dates and open the fall season in our new stadium. AJB, last time we reported on AJB, we had just had 2 meetings. We kind of reported on our last meetings for AJB. So the next 2-3 weeks, we're going to have some more design meetings to look at with the district leadership and at the campus level. We're setting those, probably going to set those dates tomorrow on progress. They're still doing some site verification and existing conditions and systems. We're doing some additional geotechnical surveys out front there to look for some things. So we'll expect to have our design development package done by mid-March, and then by late May have 100% of the design development. And once we get past that, then we start going into the construction document design for it. So that piece will start moving. Design phase is pretty quick. We say we start construction in about a year, and that sounds like a long time, but it's not really a long time. It comes really quick, and so these dates just keep coming up. There's deadlines all the time to move through. Jefferson, which we have our survey completed, reported last time, so we're going to start a little bit of programming this month, but we'll start our site development, site design, and start getting the campus involved next month on that date. So those dates will We'll complete Jefferson in November about the same time as HAB again, so we can bid all those documents at the same time to the public. Playgrounds, right now Rodriguez was selected as the first site because it is in the closest proximity to the laydown yard that's at HAB. So they're doing Rodriguez first. So right now if you drive by there, you'll see a little bit of curbing installation going on and some prepping of some surfacing. Rodriguez kind of had the fenced off, blocked playground, so we're trying to open that up so you can get out to the more playground. I think we had a movable fence line, so that work's going on right now. Equipment installation will start probably at the beginning of February. Sidewalk installation, and then the pour-in-place surfacing about 4 or 5 weeks after that to get that done. We're going to anticipated phasing, and like I said, we're doing Rodriguez first, and it's going to kind of give us a good, hey, do we like the installation? Do we like how things are going? Do we like the setup? Make sure we kind of like a check our work, check their work, make sure everything's going as planned. And then right now, the anticipated phasing will go to Potlawn and Jefferson for phase 2, Kennedy and Vogel for phase 3, and Leonard and Queenie for phase 4, with everything being completed for the start of school in August. A couple of pictures you can see where they're laying down the supports for the concrete curbs for the pour-in-place surface over at Rodriguez. And then other projects in the next agenda that's coming up information items to inform you that we're going to use the first piece of that $1.7 million additional projects is to fund 2 new boilers, one at Potlawn and one at Kinnecke. Those are both about over 30 years old and need replaced. The question I came up with or asked James is like, well, what about Vogel? Well, Vogel's was replaced not too long ago, so they're all similar in age, but those 2 have reached their 30-year mark. So this would be a good capital purchase for those dollars for boilers to heat the school. So that'll be our first purchase out of those. Tony will have that coming up next. Glad to answer any questions. Construction, we do have a construction meeting tomorrow that we have board members that attend those as well.
Have a quick question.
Oh, go ahead. Mr. Ganna?
Oh, but
Okay.
You mentioned that you were going to bid HAB and the work at Jefferson at the same time.
Yes.
Would that work be going on concurrently?
It's,
Same company?
well, that's what we'll bid it, so every company will have the option, they could bid on one or the other, or they could bid on both.
Okay.
So we could get bids, always, each company can decide how they want to bid on that work. So.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Ganna?
During the construction phase of the football field, has there been any challenges that have come up, whether they're minor or major?
It was pretty wet last week. Caused some dirty roads, trying to keep the road clean out front there. But everything's still working on schedule and on time, so haven't experienced any delays yet. So.
I think all in all, we've had pretty good weather.
We have. Yeah, they've been able to keep doing their work and we'll see what happens tonight if it rains. So it's guaranteed rain because Miss Moreno washed her car today.
Oh, that's what I heard. Yeah. All right. Any further questions? All right. Thank you, Mr. Lewis. And information item 4D is to get an update on the extra funds. I think it was called various campus improvements in the bond. Yeah. So please let us know.
Right, and Mr. Lewis really kind of touched on it, but the reason why we felt it was important to bring this to your attention is because that particular line item, and Bill, if you don't mind, if you could show the agenda, the exhibit. This particular line item, unlike all of the others, it's somewhat ambiguous in what it will be used for, and so we felt like it would be important on that very last line there, various campus improvements. We've got $1.7 million to use. We want to make sure that you're fully informed of any and all use of those funds. So in this case, no money has been spent up to this point in time, but as was mentioned in the previous item, $52,000 will be recommended to be used for 2 boiler systems, as is noted in this agenda item. So In the future, what we could do is share this as an information item by way of consent, just so that you're informed of each of the individual items, or we can keep doing it this way. There's no required format. We just want to make sure that you're getting the information that you want as a board, and the community is having that opportunity as well.
Are those boilers going to be replaced?
Yes.
Okay. Brand new boilers?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And is Vogel's in bad shape? Seems like Kinnecke and Vogel opened about
How
the same time.
did you say that one was, Bill?
It's been replaced within the last few years.
It has already been replaced?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Because these are 34 years old, so
Wow.
they're pretty old units.
Just can't believe those campuses are that old.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it. All right. That is it for our reports and information items. Item 5 is the board will adjourn into closed session pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Opens Meeting Act. Code 551.071, 551.074, 551.129, which is consultation with legal counsel, to address legal concerns, implications, and answer any questions regarding posted agenda items. Also 551.074 to discuss personnel matters, including appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment duties, and discipline or dismissal of employees. Specifically, the project director for the school climate transformation grant. And section 551.072, which is to discuss the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. Sound right? Okay, so it is 7:46. We will be going into closed session. Mr. Schultz will be joining us, and Dr. Gutierrez will let you know when we're ready for you. All right, it is 9:22, and we will now reconvene to open meeting. Up on the agenda, we have possible action on professional personnel, including employment, evaluation, assignment duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public employee. And so we have the possible action to select the project director school climate transformation grant.
I move that we select a project director of the school transformation grant as discussed in closed session.
Do I hear a second? A second. So I have a motion from Ms. Crittenden, a second from Ms. Duncan. Are there any further discussion? If not, all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Okay. Motion carries. Moving on to our consent agenda items. We have in BE local states that the consent agenda shall include items of a routine and or recurring nature grouped together under one action item. All such items shall be acted on by one vote without separate discussion unless a board member requests that an item be withdrawn for individual consideration. The remaining items shall be adopted under a single motion and vote. Did we need Ms. Kirsten Legore? Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm really not feeling well again. Y'all just need to stop me when I go off.
We weren't sure where it was going.
Okay.
Well, I'm excited to introduce Stephanie Polk. She is returning to Seguin ISD, so that's exciting. There's a lot of excitement. One, we're starting the grant, so we've got a project director, which is really the first big part of the grant. And two, she's coming back to Seguin ISD, which is when she left, I told her she would. So just give her an opportunity to tell you a little bit about herself.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Gutierrez. So as you know, I was previously at Seguin High School with Communities and Schools. So although I was there assigned to the high school, I worked all over Seguin ISD. Middle school, went in on elementary school a couple of times. I've really come to love working with our campus administrators, our counseling team, and the directors that I've interacted with at Central Office. So I'm just really excited to be back. I can tell. And really excited to get started. This grant has amazing, huge potential to change the way our community, our schools, everyone interacts and kind of really starts to deal with a lot of, our big issues that we see it as in citizens and in our schools. And so I'm just really excited that we have the opportunity to really focus on mental health and really digging into restorative practices and re-energizing our PBIS initiative. So I'm just really excited. So thank you all so much.
She is here in early February, and we're going to Washington DC together, starting on Sunday for the major training for the grant. So our brains will be very full by the end of day on Tuesday.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Sounds like you're gonna hit the ground running.
Absolutely. We're really excited. Thank you.
All right, so back to our consent. These are the things in the consent agenda this month. Approval of board minutes of public hearing, December 17th, regular meeting, December 17th, special meeting, and January 26, 2020. Okay, let me do that again. December 17th was a regular meeting. That's 2019, and the special meeting was January 6, 2020. Approval of tax collection reports for December 2019. Approval of proposed budget amendments and financial statements for December 2019. Approval of donations received for 2019. Approval of investment report for the second quarter 2019-20. Approval of 6 utility vehicles, which was RFP 20-08. The first reading for consideration or approval of the Texas Association of School Boards, or TASB Policy Update 114, affecting legal and local policies. TEA Applications Alternate Approver Request. Public Information Act Request 2019 to January 2020. Information regarding the purchase of athletic equipment for the Seguin Matador Stadium 2019 bond project from BSN Corporation through the Buy Board Purchasing Co-op. Information regarding the purchase of playground equipment and installation for all elementary school 2019 bond projects from Playcorps, Wisconsin Inc. through Omnia Partners Purchasing Co-op, and information regarding the purchase of musical instruments for district band programs from High School Music Service Inc. through the 2013 Purchasing Co-op. So we have all of those things listed under agenda. Do I hear a motion to accept them all as under one action item? Mr. Guetta, do I hear a second? Ms. Crittenden, any discussion on any of these? All right, all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. All right, we have 3 action items. The first one is adopt the resolution for the assignment of fund balance. Mr. Hilfer.
So the item that we're requesting a resolution for the assignment of fund balance for the purchase of a new ag truck. They already have a trailer. They just need a truck. Would have a heavy-duty tow package. It's an F350 crew cab. The specs have been provided in collaboration with the department and our maintenance department. So happy to share those, but that's what this is about.
Ms. Duncan, you look like you have something to say.
So I move to accept this assigned fund balance for the purchase of an ag vehicle.
Okay. I have a motion from Ms. Duncan, a second from Ms. Moreno. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Consider appointing a budget committee for the Board of Trustees. And this committee will work on the development of the 2021 proposed budgets for the upcoming school year. And I am happy to appoint Mr. Ben Almador, Ms. Glenda Moreno, and Mr. Carl Jenkins to the budget committee this year. I'd like to do that if I hear a motion. How about somebody who is not on that committee? Make a motion to
So moved.
Ms. Crittenden has made the motion to approve those Committee members, I hear a second from Mr. Guerra. Any discussion? Anybody? Not all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Can't see Mr. Jenkins over there. Okay. Okay, approved 7-0. And then last up, per personnel action for professional employees, Ms. Moreno.
Good evening, Board President Jimenez, school board members, and Dr. Gutierrez. So we have the recommendation for your acknowledgement. Mr. Rene Dominguez is going to be at Vogel Elementary. It was effective in December. Mr. Dominguez is a 2015 graduate from TLU with a degree in psychology. Mr. Dominguez is part of the alternative certification program through TLU and has served prior to this appointment as a substitute in the behavior unit at Vogel. Mrs. Flack states that Mr. Dominguez has done a superior job in dealing with the campus's most challenging students. So he will now be a 5th grade teacher at Vogel Elementary that replaced Gloria Collins, who resigned earlier in the year. With this statement, the grading level has already seen positive change and stability, so we're excited about that. Also, for your acknowledgement, we have the resignation of Mr. Valleres. He was from New Mexico, and he is going back to New Mexico. Mr. Malden, Charles Malden, he has resigned and elected to retire from public education.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to accept those recommendations as presented?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Guerra. Do I hear a second? Mr. Amador, any questions or comments for Ms. Moreno or anything? Okay, all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And I believe that is it for the evening. Do any of the board members have any comments or questions they'd like to have the staff look into? Yes, Ms.
I have a quick question about rezoning, and if we could get an update on what the committee is working through. I've had some questions come from my district, and I'd like to get an update. Thank you.
Anything else? Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Thank you, Ms. Moreno, and second, and I'm sure we're all in agreement. Everybody raise your right hand. Motion carries across the room, 9:32.